Hello everyone and welcome back to our Intro to Web Dev course. Today we'll be talking about JavaScript, a fundamental tool in web development. So far we've covered the basics of HTML and some CSS, and today we're going to be talking about how to make websites interactive using JavaScript. So what exactly is JavaScript? JavaScript is a high-level programming language that is primarily used alongside HTML and CSS and usually in websites to make websites interactive. It could be anything from updating the contents of a web page in real time, creating a dynamic drop-down menu, changing the content based on a user's action, validating form inputs, fetching data from an external API, and much more. A JavaScript program is typically made up of one or more scripts containing lines of code, and each line of code or statement is often ended with a semicolon. So let's go ahead and make a new file called lesson4.html, and let's bring up our HTML boilerplate by doing !enter. And now that we have that, inside our body tag, we can simply do a script tag, and what this tells our HTML file is that we'll be writing JavaScript code. So you're going to want to end that tag, and then inside this script tag, you can write all your JavaScript code. So let's go ahead and write a console log that says hello world, console.log, hello world. And I recommend if you do not know the basics of JavaScript, you should check out our Introduction to JavaScript course, but if you do not, that's perfectly fine as you will get a pretty good introduction in this course. So now that we have our console log here, let's go ahead and click our Go Live button. And let's open our console by simply doing show JavaScript console. And as you can see right here, it says hello world exclamation mark. And so let's just review some basics about JavaScript variables if you don't already know some. The most common way of declaring a variable is usually the var one, and it's the most flexible way. So let's do var is married, for example, equals false. That is called a Boolean statement, and inside this variable called isMarried, you're going to set the value to false. And if we console log isMarried, it's just going to print out false. We have var number equals 10, and this is simply an integer. We have var float equals 10.5. Floats are simply decimals. And we have var text equals hello, and that is a variable enclosed inside quotation marks, which tells the code that it is a string. There are a few other ways to declare variables in JavaScript, including the const keyword and let keyword, but we won't be using that in this course. But if you do want to learn about those keywords, check out our Intro to JavaScript course. So now that we understand the basics of these variables, let's go ahead and create our first function. Let's go ahead and create a function called greeting. And let's take in a parameter by doing name inside this parentheses. And let's go ahead and put some brackets and return hello space plus name. And essentially what this will do is it'll concatenate hello plus world. And plus is not addition, but it is simply combining the two strings, which are name and hello. And when we are console logging something like this, we want to take in the name parameter like so. So we're going to do console log greet, which is our function, right? And if we had no parameters, we would just leave it at there and end it with a semicolon. But since we have this name parameter, we can simply put in our name, which is Siddharth. It seems like I misspelled greeting, put greet instead, so let's put greeting. And then let's go ahead and check our console, and as you can see, it says hello Siddharth. So functions and variables are pretty essential in JavaScript and web development, so make sure you have a good grasp of them. A common way people practice this is simply by just making a project and messing around with some variables, store some variables. If you click a button, it should change the variable, and we'll be getting into all of that later in this lesson. So now that we have a basic understanding of both functions, taking in parameters, and declaring variables of different types, let's go ahead and move on to the next topic of conditional statements in JavaScript. So let's go ahead and declare a variable. Let's call it var age equals 17. Let's say if age is less than 18, console.log, sorry, you are not cool. And so simply what this will do is it'll console log sorry you are not cool, because this statement will return as a true statement because 17 is less than 18. Now let's go ahead and test some else if statements. So else if brackets console.log, and inside this else if, let's go ahead and put some parentheses. If age equals 17, then congrats, you are 17 years old. And because it already met the first condition of it being under 18, it won't even run this code. So let's go ahead and run some code that says 19, and it won't print anything. But if we put an else right here, you are greater than 18 years old. And let's go ahead and console log that. And as you can see, it says you are greater than 18 years old because we set the age to 19. So just understand that it goes in sequence, so that if it doesn't meet the first if condition, it'll go into the second one. And if it doesn't meet that, it'll go into the third one. And keep in mind, you can make as many else if statements as you want. So let's go ahead and combine HTML and JavaScript together inside a button. So in our body tag, let's go ahead and create a button tag. And in this button, let's call it change this text to hello world. And as you can see, we have our button right here, change this text to hello world. Let's go ahead and set this button to an ID of hello. Now inside our script, we can go ahead and start writing our JavaScript to manipulate this code so that when you click this button, it'll actually change to hello world. So what we can do in HTML is we can go ahead and use document, which is an inbuilt variable in HTML, and we can go ahead and use a function called getElement by ID, and our ID that we sent is hello, and on click, our handler equals function, just like we declared before, brackets document dot again get element by ID. And let's go ahead and manipulate that text itself. Dot inner text equals hello world. And now let's go ahead and try clicking this button. As you can see, it changes to hello world because we set the JavaScript code so that when the element with the ID of hello is clicked, it will change the string to hello world. So now that you have a basic understanding of JavaScript integrated into HTML, I want you to manipulate this JavaScript code so that once you click it, you can click it again and it'll change back to its original text. So have fun with that, and I'll see you in the next lesson.